Hi, this is Sharon Pastilli. I'm chair of the Senior Disabled Tax Relief Committee of the RTM. We were supposed to have a WebEx meeting this evening. We're having technical difficulties with the WebEx. We do not have, we're not going to vote on any items on the agenda this evening, so we've dialed into a conference line to record discussion, and I apologize to the public if this creates any inconvenience, but we did want to still hold the meeting, and WebEx was giving us difficulty. And so it is July 17th at 8:04 p.m., and I'm calling the meeting to order. And I'm going to start by taking the roll. Dave Rock.
I'm here.
Chris Shea.
Here.
Christine Lowodzak.
Here.
And then Mark McDermott is absent. Okay. So the first item on the agenda is to vote on the minutes of our last meeting, which was, I think, the May 21st meeting. Do I have a motion to approve? Oh wait, we're not going to do any voting items. Shoot, we'll defer the meeting minutes until the next meeting. If that's okay, I think we should do that, and then just move on to discussion if that's okay. Just because it's not available to the public. So in terms of discussion for this evening. There are some design provisions where I wanted to check to see where we might have agreement on making changes to the program. And if there are spots where we're all in agreement, then I think that we can, put forward a modified version of the ordinance for us to be able to act on. And so the first thing was we wanted to lower the age to 65, right, for deferral.
Correct.
And I think we're all in agreement on that. Is that the case?
I think we are.
I am.
Yes, I am as well.
Okay, great. And then the other thing that we should consider is increasing the QTAV from 650,000 to 682,500. So this is something that a previous Senior Disabled Tax Relief Committee tried to increase back in 2017. But it didn't make it through all of the bodies, it didn't make it out of committee. So what would happen is that it hasn't been the QTAV hasn't been increased in a very long time. I don't know how far back, but so one thing we should do is consider making that increase. So Mark was suggesting 682.5 because that was what was agreed on in the past. And then the other thing that he had mentioned that we should talk about for consideration was that that the income requirement be increased with cost of living adjustment every year.
Has the income ever been adjusted based on cost of living?
I don't know the answer to that, but I don't see where it has been.
Okay. I do feel
so
that does make sense. I guess I would just wonder if there's a reason or a rationale why it hasn't in the past.
Yeah, and so maybe that's something we can ask Ross.
How has the income requirement been increased in the past?
Yep.
What method has been used? to, assess the proper income requirement in the past if it hasn't been done with a cost of living.
So that'll probably be a Ross question, unless Sharon, can you speak to that at all?
That's what I'm documenting that as a Ross question because I do not know
Perfect.
the answer to
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
And I think it might be something that Mark would know the answer to, perhaps, but if we ask Ross, then I think that's a good approach.
Okay.
And I think the same with the QTAV also,
Yeah.
right? So I don't know. I
me
know that
too.
it hasn't been increased in a really long time. So when was the last time it was increased?
Yeah, and how did they come up with the, $32,500 increase? What was that based on?
Right, and that was in 2017, right? And so now we're 7 years later. Should it be a bigger increase?
Yeah, maybe it's 700. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Who does know? I mean, I think you have to figure, the cost of living increase from 2017 has been ginormous. So who knows
Right.
what that number is?
I'm looking at the, the spreadsheet where we documented everything that other towns do.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to see if there's anything in here on that. But they don't. I don't.
A lot of these people are on fixed incomes, and they may get a Social Security cost of living increase, but many of them don't. It's not. I don't know. It may not. In many years, it may not keep up with inflation. So it's tough. That's pretty tricky to figure.
Yeah, it is tricky. Yeah. So
I don't think we want to make it really difficult to administer the program. Have to be careful not to overcomplicate it. But
Yeah, it
So,
seems like we just need more information.
Yeah, so the Social Security cost of living adjustment for 2023 was 3.2%. So if we at least tied it to the Social Security cost of living adjustment, then it would increase by some amount. And if we feel over time it's not keeping up with inflation, then we could do a one-time bump. And then that way it's set to the specific COLA determination, made by Social Security Administration.
Yeah, but who sets the one-time bump? Is it kind of an automatic thing that happens?
No, we'd have to vote on it.
Yeah, so
the COLA would be automatic, right? But then if you're saying COLA is not always keeping up with inflation, which I agree with, then we'd have to do a one-time bump. You know what I mean? At some point.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like it gets complicated, and it gets. I mean, how long does it take for, our committee to come up with a suggestion, and then how long does it take for Ross's group to come up with something, and then it has to be voted on at the RTM, I imagine, or somewhere. I mean, it'll take a year to get anything approved.
Right, and if we tied it to COLA, then it would be part of the administrative process.
Yeah, which is what I was trying to get to, is let's not make this more complicated than necessary.
Well, Sharon, are you saying, are we saying it would be an automatic part? I guess we wouldn't, I don't think, Chris, we'd be voting on it every year. Am I right in that, Sharon? Once we were to tie it to like a cost of living increase, or
if we tied it to a cost of living increase, I believe that it could be administrated. It would be part of the administrative process because it's set by something external.
That was what I was trying to get at, is if we overcomplicate it and make it like, to Sharon's comment about the one-time bump, that gets tricky and gets burdensome, and you can get kind of stuck in the weeds, I think, trying to figure that out. So, yeah, if it's set at a whatever the Social Security Administration sets as their standard annual cost of living increase, it could be adjusted to that, I think. I mean, that seems like that's always a modest and a fairly reasonable number. I mean, sometimes it's not, but at least it's always something that's considered and used by, many people.
Yeah, I agree with that. I was playing devil's advocate to your comment about it not keeping up with inflation.
Right. No, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah. Well, and right now, so the COLA adjustment was 3.2%. I know wages are moving at 4% in general right now. I know they're not the same, and inflation is probably it's slowing down, but it was 7, right? So, but it's better than making no increase and better than putting it through the process, like you're saying, of complicating it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Dave, any comments?
No, I'm just I'm listening, and I think I wish Ross was on the line, because I think he could give us some clarity as far as the history background, and then what would make sense from an administrative or how we should peg this thing. It seems like we all would want to make sure that we've got the right number. What's the background on the increase, and then is that really the number, or is there really a different number we should be looking at? And then how do we tie that out going forward? I'd be curious to see whether or not he thinks it's a good idea to tie it to anything, a COLA increase or anything like that. I don't know that we can do that. And he'd probably tell us whether we'd be allowed to do that or not. So I think I'm sort of missing him right now in the conversation.
Yeah, but I agree. But I think this is giving us a good list of questions. Because I think, I'm looking at the design provisions. So we have the deferral age, which we've discussed, and we have the income, which, Mark had raised this issue for me to bring up during the meeting since he couldn't be here. And then the QTAV issue. But I'm looking at the other design provisions that we reviewed together in past meetings, and I don't see anything else that we might want to make changes on, other than I had kind of liked that idea of the cap, but I think I was alone. I think I was an island in thinking that the cap might be a good idea.
Yeah, I know in the last meeting, I believe there was discussion about not getting too over our skis on all these variables. I think the note was we may only want to move one variable at once so that we can see how it impacts the overall program.
Yeah,
that was in the meeting from last time.
Yes,
and
agree.
Then, and then also, it does say here we do not currently need a cap. There are not enough people participating in the program for that to be necessary, and it would be administratively difficult, and we could always adjust in the following year. So that was from our last meeting.
Yep. Okay. Okay, so I think that if we change the deferral age and then adjusted QTAV and then asked about the COLA adjustment, I don't think that's, I mean, I know we're saying change one variable at a time, but that doesn't seem extreme to me because we're just making administrative adjustments to how, to make these measures move with the market.
Yeah.
But I guess I think I agree with that direction, but I'd be curious to see, like, in the past, has it been assessed every 5 years or every year, or how do they, like, how have they addressed this in the past? So, like you said, like, Ross will shed light on that.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to think there's nothing in place, over the years. So.
Or there is, and we just don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right now, we just don't know how they did it in the past, and we know they haven't done it since like before 2017.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, yeah, and I think it was an issue of the Senior and Disabled Tax Relief Committee came to a conclusion about the changes that they wanted to make, but they couldn't get agreement from Board of Finance.
Okay.
So I think once, we get the history from Ross, we vote on what changes we'd want to make, and then I think we have to go, Mark can clarify the process better, but my understanding is then we'd go speak to the Board of Finance.
Okay.
And then once we're in agreement, I think then it would go to L&A. But I need to clarify. This isn't my note to myself, is to clarify what the next steps are. Because I think we've really boiled down not too many things that we'd like to change, but enough that it would be, so like we said, don't move too much at once so we can see what impact it would have. And then if we can, get this additional information from Ross so that we get to a point where we know what we're voting on, come to agreement, and then I'll find out the next steps in the process so that we find out, how we need to advocate going forward in order for our changes to pass.
Okay.
That sounds good, Sharon.
Okay, cool. All right, good. Okay, so I have these questions. If you guys don't mind, what I'll do is I will circulate an email to you a few minutes after we log off this call. And then if you guys could just send me back your edits, and then I will send the email to Ross with our questions, and then that will be part of the backup for the next meeting. And then depending on what he says, we will, we can vote on these individual changes at the next meeting, and then I will provide clarification on next steps in the process at the next meeting as well.
Okay. And the next meeting is also virtual, right, in August?
Yeah, but after what happened, I'm inclined to say, if we're around, can we please meet in person? Because I literally, I'm good with this stuff, and I don't know why I couldn't log in. Like, I'm pretty knowledgeable about WebEx, and I do not know what happened.
Yeah, so I'm good with meeting in person, provided I'm in town. I don't remember. I've made some vacation plans. I don't have it in front of me, so. But if I'm here, I'll be there.
Yeah,
okay,
same here.
Okay, how about you, Christine? Would that be okay?
I think I'm out of town that week, actually, but I could absolutely dial in. So
okay, that's good.
Right. I'll figure that out.
As long as someone's with me, so I don't cry alone while I'm trying to dial into WebEx.
I know. I'm glad you persevered, though, Sharon. I'm glad we at least got to connect tonight, right? So we got our meeting in.
I know, but I apologize. Like, I just feel like no matter what I do, I even sent invitations. I sent calendar invites out to everyone this time, so we'd all have it on our calendars.
Yeah.
Yep.
It ain't for lack of trying.
No, technology, right?
What am I
It
going to do?
happens.
Get fired from my volunteer job? Okay. Okay, so let me just document these next steps. I'm sorry. So the next steps are I'm going to write the email to Ross and then ask you guys for edits, members for edits, and then send email to Ross. And then I'm going to clarify next steps in the process. And then next meeting, we will meet in person with a dial-in. Is there anything else that I'm forgetting?
I think so.
I'm going to tell Fair TV to pick up this recording. To post. And I apologize to the public if there's anyone that was trying to get in. We really did try with the technology, and it was quite difficult, so I'm very sorry. Okay, great. So I think that's it. If we have a motion to adjourn, or does anyone else have any other related business? I'm sorry.
I will make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, great. Do we have a second?
Second. Okay.
All right, great.
You beat me to it,
All right, so we're adjourning at 8:25 p.m., and I really appreciate it, and I will talk to you guys soon. Thanks a lot.